You know a feeling I hate? I just hate it. Have to put up with it sometimes, but it's one you probably also know. You're in a conversation, you're trapped in a conversation, and you feel out of your depth. You don't feel like you know enough about what the other people are talking about. You begin to wonder whether you're just kind of inadequate in general. You hope that the conversation doesn't turn to you because if they hand you the ball, you'll fumble it. Let's say you're talking about sports and you don't know anything about sports, or they're talking about business, or they're talking about whatever, and you just don't feel up to it. You don't feel like you know that much, and you don't feel like you'll say anything that's clever, and people might look at you and you'll be shy and embarrassed and all of that. And for whatever reason, you can't leave the conversation. You're stuck in it, and you're trying to be a peer in the conversation. That is, trying to be at the same level as everybody else. It's not like you can sit there and be an apprentice or an intern or something like that and just listen to them. You actually feel like you've got something to prove within this conversation, and you don't really feel up to it. And you get out of there as soon as you can because you hate to feel inadequate. Who likes to feel inadequate? I think that the number one goal for humans is, the driver for so much of our behavior is this need for affirmation, assurance, reassurance that we are not inadequate. And you can get so much of it that you're actually cruising for, you no longer feel like you're dealing with that question, but that's because you're on high maintenance doses of affirmation. You've got enough support for you, so you don't actually worry about it anymore. Okay, so what do you do when you're in situations like that, other than run away? Just like get out of there as soon as you can. And hang out only with people where you feel adequate. And if you like to have simpler company, that's where you'll hang out, because you sure don't want to hang out with people who make you feel inadequate. So one thing you can do is just gravitate to your comfort zone and stay away from that other company. And if that doesn't feel like reassurance enough, you can also always come up with ways to disparage the alternative. Like, for example, if you're not someone whose intelligence primarily plays out in terms of academic ability, you could find dismissive ways to talk about people who have an academic bent. That people, those pure conversations that would make you nervous because you're not an academic, you can always find a way from your comfort zone to disparage those people who hang out in those conversations. Because it's like ivory tower, or it's a form of it's circle jerk, mental masturbation, whatever. You can make fun of those people. Or if you have a belief system, the things that you believe, maybe inherited from your culture or maybe chosen, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you feel very much at home when you're talking about them with people who agree with you. But if you're dealing with people who don't agree with you, you'd feel a little out of your depth. You'd be a little shy. Could you actually defend your beliefs to strangers who didn't already agree with you? That'd be uncomfortable. So of course, you can also disparage those other groups that believe other things besides you, other things that you don't believe. So you can also disparage them. It's a way of, I think of it as there's two ways to elevate yourself. One is to elevate yourself and feel adequate and comfortable by performing better, but the other is by lowering others relative to you. I call it sado-narcissism. That is, there's two ways for me to lift myself up. One is to lift myself up, and the other one is to put others down. And then on top of that, I could lift myself up by posing as though I'm better. That it's like, and I can also put others down by pretending that they're worse than they are. So how do you deal with those situations where you're actually put on the spot? You're in some kind of confrontation with people who you don't feel like you necessarily are capable of convincing that you're adequate. You feel shy, you feel uncomfortable, you feel on the spot, you feel self-conscious. Well, one thing you can do, it turns out, is you can come up with a bunch of formulas. You don't actually have to know anything about what they're talking about. Yeah, you can stay out of their depth, but you don't have to act like you're out of your depth. You can act like you are above it all. You can do it kind of robotically. That is, you have a toolkit of generic terms that don't require that you actually know any content. And they would make you feel brave enough to enter into any conversation, and you'd come across as a smartass or a know-it-all, but you wouldn't feel that way. You'd feel like you knew it all. Without having to know anything at all, you'd feel like it because you had this generic formula for feeling punk-proof. That is, no one can punk you because you always have something to say in response. It's generic. It's not grounded in any content at all, but it makes you feel like you could be a badass in any conversation. And imagine how much relief you would feel if you finally found that formula. That formula that's basically a rule book. If someone says this, you say this in response. If you say this, and you don't have to pay any attention to the content, it's almost like a pull toy. You just come out with a snappy answer to anything that anybody says, and you don't have to think about it at all. Imagine how much fun that would be, especially if you were someone who had dealt with a fair amount of shyness and feeling punked in conversation. It would be such a thrill. And imagine how grateful you'd be to whomever gave you that toolkit, that badassery toolkit. It's like gave you the voice box, the pull toy voice box that enables you to quip back at anyone so you never have to feel inadequate again for the rest of your life. Imagine how much gratitude you would have for that kind of a gift and the giver of that gift. Well, I think it happens lots. I think that Christianity, Islam, communism, really any ideology, any political culture, any lifestyle brand gives you things like this. It's one of the main offerings that you might get. But we have never, at least in my life's history, we have never had as perfect example of it being offered to you as Donald Trump. I know that they all have learned to say that they're caring about policy and they really care about the border. I don't believe that they care one drop about these things that they insist they care about so much that it trumps all other considerations. I don't believe those policy stances have really anything to do with being a Trump supporter. I think what it is that he has offered a bunch of people a toolkit for not caring about what's being talked about, not having to care, and feeling like a badass. That is, the people who have supported Trump, and I hear from them because I write stuff that they respond to, I get lots of troll interactions, and I get it over and over. It's the boilerplate cliches. It's, I know you are, but what am I? Or, who cares? Everybody does it. So that anything they can say to deflect anything that would make them feel inadequate and make them feel like badasses. That's really all Trump is someone who demonstrates how to use that boilerplate douchebot toolkit. That is, you could program a Donald Trump very easily because he doesn't have to pay any attention to content. It's a pull toy. He demonstrates how to be a badass pull toy, and then he offers that pull toy kit to everyone who follows him. That's what they are buying. That's what they are claiming as their new entitlement. And it's fine. I mean, I actually think that we need situations like this. Like barroom shit talk is wonderful for humans, or your mama jokes, that kind of stuff, which is back and forth and gives people a chance to engage in bravado. But to be doing it in the political realm where we actually have a country to run, and you're not paying attention to the content, you're only paying attention to the badassery, is just a chaos generator. Because nothing else matters. When you're in these debates with these people, they're not actually debating content. That's not the point of what they're doing. They're masturbating to their own bravado, their newfound freedom from shyness. That's what is really going on. Which is why I think the heart of a response of these people is don't debate them. They are just masturbating to you taking the bait. Call them on that instead. Just keep on pointing out that they are operating like a pull toy and using whatever statement, regardless of what you said, to pretend as though not only are they good enough to be part of the conversation, they are the superiors, the judges of the conversation. And it's all done with generic boilerplate that they bought from Trump, and that's all he's selling. It's just the bravado to keep you from feeling inadequate, that very shyness that we all have to deal with from time to time when we are the ones who don't know as much as the other people at the table. Okay, so is there an alternative to that kind of bravado bullshit, self-importance circle jerk? Yeah, I think there is. It's not fun. I've been in tons of conversations like that. I still end up in them. I try to avoid them. I don't like feeling inadequate any more than the next guy. I am trying to keep my feeling of inadequacy at bay, like the next guy. But the better you get at not being the best in a conversation, the better you get to be. It's peer pressure. It's actually what they design into programs like the military or college. That is, you're around a bunch of other people, you'll feel inadequate, and if you want to channel that inadequacy, that sense of inadequacy, into motivation to be a better person. And you'll still, no matter how much you do that, to be a better person, to be more of an expert at whatever is being talked about. That is, we all start out as beginners in those conversations, and if you stick with it long enough, through a whole lot of grueling sensation of inadequacy, you can get to a place where you actually are adequate. You have to earn it, though, and it's different from that other thing, where you're just basically mouthing, parroting generic statements that are no more substantive than "I know you are, but what am I?" or "Who cares, so what, you do it too," or just "I don't care, who cares?" That's all you need to say. And you start to feel like a badass, a legend in your own mind, a legend in Trump's mind, because that's all he's got going on. It's incredible how strong an appeal it has, and it tells you a lot about that feeling of inadequacy. No one likes to feel inadequate. And we are willing to turn a country over to a man who's got no content, no statecraft, no intelligence in that realm, and is proud of it because he has a smart-ass response to everything and anyone. That's how much we care about not feeling inadequate, that we would simply forsake our country for a chance to feel like we are badasses with him too. Again, don't debate them. They're just baiting to you taking the bait. Call them on that instead. They were shy at one time. They didn't want to get into a political conversation, or they only wanted to stay within their clique. And then they found the formula, and now they go out like exhibitionists. They want to show the world that they can debate anyone. These are the trolls online. They probably wouldn't want to enter into a true debate, that's for sure. But at least they have this formula kit, and they're just playing it out. So they're like exhibitionists. They sidle up to you as if they want a conversation with you, and then when they got your attention, they open their trench coat and show off their stiff little formulaic ways of saying, "I know you are, but what am I?" or whatever. And however you respond, they feel like badasses. Can you imagine how much fun that is if you have felt inadequate in conversation? Let's say you were not a good student in school, never really understood politics, and someone comes along and offers you this magic kit whereby you get to play the pundit, the superior, the authority, the supreme judge. Oh, no wonder we would grab that in the numbers we have in this United States. And around the world, because this is a popular thing to grab. It speaks to how vile we find it when we feel inadequate in a group of our peers, and how useful it would be if we could stomach the discomfort long enough to get our own chops up, our substantive chops, get skilled at something. The way that in the military, for example, if you start out a rookie or a noob, a tenderfoot, whatever they call them, and over time you grow into a position of power, of authority, of skill, of capability. That's the hard work. And this is all, the Trump stuff is all a shortcut. And it's not just Trump. Again, you could do it for any movement, any lifestyle brand has its versions of this. We have a proliferation of those brands. I think of Trumpism as nothing but a lifestyle brand. It is certainly not a political platform. It's not an ideology, it's not a set of principles, it's a lifestyle brand. And it's one that makes you feel like a badass, completely adequate, super adequate, without any effort at all, without any content at all. You just get to learn how to use these cliches, exploit them all the time, never have to think about anything ever again. You feel like a badass. You feel like you know everything when everybody else thinks you're just a know-it-all. And you actually don't have to know anything in order to pull it off. It's a tragedy. I think that this country is at risk of dying of a brain fart. But the brain fart I want to get very specific about. The brain fart here is that feeling inadequate is so unpleasant that we would grab a bullshit kit to make it so we never feel inadequate again. And as a result, our country could tank. And I'd say the same damn thing if this was leftist. It's got nothing to do with politics. If there was a Donald Trump who was offering that toolkit, the way that Maduro did in Venezuela, the way that Stalin did, the way that Lenin did, the way that Hitler did, it doesn't matter what the content is. It's just a way of feeling permanently inadequacy-proofed. So when I hear from Trump supporters in response to these things, how dare you accuse us, we have policies and all this sort of stuff, bullshit. It's just a form of masturbation. And like I say, do it. Self-love is important, just not in public. Find a room. Self-love is important, get a room.